Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? I'm not running with my mic or anything. We're just going ad hoc right now. Um, Very interesting day. Um, I'm just going to kind of spend some time here real quick. Uh, Let everybody find out that it's up and running. I didn't send anything out, so, um, but Tammy and Naomi and those who know. I said we'd be on about 3 o'clock, and I was hoping for Rumble, but just like you guys and me, David's got a commitments that he's got to take care of, so um, he's wasn't able to get me the codes, which is no big deal. Um, we're just going to go old school like I did before, just YouTube and Facebook. So, yesterday was election day, and I wanted to do this one separate from the Bible study this morning so that people understood, the difference between the two, because I'm not going to be mixing the two together. And it was very interesting because as I was preparing, there we go, it's 3 o'clock. So as I was preparing for this, I got a message from a friend who I was working my local polling site with, and she was the supervisor over there. And we had some problems at the site, which I will get into as we go through this hour. But I just got a message from her that she has filed with the, I believe it's called the Election Integrity Project here in California. Hey, Naomi. Hello, Annette. Give me a yes or a no if you guys can hear me, because I just realized I don't have my mic on. Hey, Dakota. Welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Hi, Sherry. Daniel, good to see you. Hey, John. So, hey, Sergio, how you doing? Okay, good. Sound is good. All right. Like I was mentioning earlier, yesterday was a lot of places around the country had here in the United States, for those that are outside the country, they for election, for the primaries for president, and then also some places had special elections. Here in California, we had a special election for the position of, well, it was what used to be Kevin McCarthy's seat in the Senate. And hey, Tammy. Oh, hang on a second. I got to take care of something really quick. Oh, come on. You're not going to allow me to do it, are you? Dadgummit, Tammy. I don't know why it won't let me do it. Hey, Jamie, how you doing? Oh, there it is. Boom. There you go. So anyways, that was why I wasn't here yesterday morning, was because I was working the election. And hello, Daniel, welcome. And so I mean, it went like any other election. We set everything up Friday night, Monday night. Everything was going good. We tested everything. Everything was perfect. I was doing the ADA stuff for the disability, because that's kind of where my heart is for the disabled and everything. And yeah, this isn't my first time. I've done this quite a few times, but yeah, the unfortunate this time though, Jamie, was that there were a lot of things that happened that you hear different places how, oh, well, we ran out of ballots, or the electronics were this or that. Amir, this is not the place that we're doing any of that, buddy. We're just kind of hanging out. This is a group for my Bible study, and you're welcome to hang out with us, but we don't go that way in here. All right. We respect everybody. We respect each person's privacy and where they're at. So, good evening, Tammy. From Moscow. You know English very well, but in any case, the world is your home. I see you in a real nice way. Exactly. Yeah, this is my workshop, Admiral. It is. Wait, do I need to call you sir? Are you an actual admiral? Don't make me call you sir, please. I'm kidding. I was in the Navy, so yeah, no, it's a military thing. Anyways, so we got everything set up, shut everything down Monday night, and they are using a piece of electronic equipment. They're called e-books. What it looks like is like an Apple iPad, but it's running another type of software on it that they use for verifying addresses and everything to verify who you are, and then you have to sign it, right? So yesterday morning we fired everything up, and it looked like everything was running good. And the first indication, because I was the first one that voted, actually I was the second. We had another person come in because there's an inspection that has to be done by a voter. So they do that. I voted, and it came up showing me that I was in a town that's about 60, 70 miles from where I live. And I said, well, it's not right. You know, the street's right, everything's right, but the town is incorrect. And so we looked at it and tried to figure it out, and they said, well, it's something in the computer. There's something going on. And they said, well, all right, don't worry about it. So we'll just go ahead and vote. So we voted, or I voted. And then it started to go down from there, okay? And this is the thing. The reason I'm saying this is because for those here in the United States, if you haven't voted yet, if your primary is still coming up, these are things to look out for, okay? How about just at will chat? You know, just kind of like a free form chat, David. David's setting it up right now for us, folks, so we can get the Rumble up. We may have to shut down for maybe a minute or two while I bring that up once he gets me the codes, and we'll bring it back up. So it'll give us a little bit more access and a little bit more ability. But so we're going through all this, and then we start to notice that, and granted, here in California, what they have done is they do what they call a redistricting. A lot of states do this, but there's always a notification. Okay, they're supposed to send it out when they redistrict, because what happens is instead of me going to one polling place, I'm supposed to go to a different one. Well, on March 5th, when we did the presidential primary, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 communities here in my area that were all redistricted to a polling place that is 45 minutes from where we live, and that's basically from my house. There are most of the other ones, I'm like one of the closest entities. The other ones all live even farther away because they've got to come up through the mountains, then to go back down the mountain to get to the polling place. And they had a big problem with that. So they think that this was a aftermath of that situation. The election went smooth. We had very few people, okay, and everybody was very cordial. It was nice, you know. Unlike the other ones that I've worked where it's just crazy. But the all of a sudden the iBooks, ebooks, whatever you want to call them, stupid things, um, it is random. What up here, what they're doing in California is they are trying to force people to do the mail-in ballots. What they're trying to do is they are closing down some of the polling places and making it. We used to have, I believe it was 8 or 10 polling places up here where I live, because if you look at a map, we are a huge district, and we're spread out because we're rural. They try to make the district by so many people, right? Well, if you try and take that many people, we don't have that in like one town or one entity. So what they do is they spread it out. They keep expanding. They have to bring some more in. They have to bring some more in. Exactly, random. Shasta's doing the same thing. They redistrict them. I'm down in Kern County, and I'm up on the mountain above Bakersfield, and so ours goes all the way down into south, or actually west of Bakersfield, and it goes all the way up into Ridgecrest and way up on the other side. And so when they redistricted, they put everything in different places. And so, anyways, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it harder for people so that they have to use the mail-in ballots. And I don't care what they do. I will show up to vote in person every single time, because it's I don't trust the computers. Yesterday was a perfect example. Sorry, Saranish, welcome. So anyways, we're going through that, and the computers just quit. They were saying, no, you can't vote here, and no, this isn't your precinct, and all kinds of stuff. And so the supervisor got a hold of the election group, and they said, this is what's going on. And they said, stop using the ebooks, shut it down. Okay. At that point in time, we did not realize that this was a county-wide situation. It wasn't just our district. It wasn't just anything like that. It was county-wide, which means our whole county was having problems. So we stopped, and they had paper, so we had paper backup. And that was working well. We were able to get beyond, hi Belinda, get beyond it, to work past it. Thanks to her leadership and some others that were there, their knowledge of how everything went together, and it was working. And they said, just put them off to the side, leave them on, but put them off to the side. So they're doing that, and then all of a sudden she gets, like 3 hours later, she gets a text telling her, okay, everybody revert back to the e-pads or ebooks. Pull all the paper off the floor, pull it all, put it back into the bag, mark everything, and revert back to them. So we reverted back to the ebook. Well, as we're reverting back, she's getting texts from other supervisors telling them now other parts of our county were going down. And why do I bring all this up? It's, some people will hear about this. Some people hear about things that went wrong. Some have seen things go wrong in their counties, in their districts. But we need, it's knowledge is power. When you go in and you see something going on, you need to say something. Okay? The voting is for all of us. I understand that me voting here in my little district won't affect somebody that's in Ohio or Kentucky or Massachusetts or anything else. But if the same tactics apply in those areas, in other words, the redistricting, and thereby the computers are screwed up, and now people are being told that they can't vote. We had people that that came in, and they were told, they said on their thing something about that they couldn't vote or something. It was just crazy, and the electronics. We never seemed to have this problem with paper. Okay, when we had paper, when we were running the paper ballots, and you walked in. I remember when it used to be, the voting day was a big day. I remember my dad had come home from work early, and he'd get dressed, in his suit, and he'd take mom and with me, and they go, and everybody around there looked nice. The people that were working the polls the ladies were in nice dresses, and the guys were, they were in slacks and a button-down shirt with a tie on, and it was that kind of a thing. It wasn't, like you dress up for a major dinner or something, but it was, everybody was dressed up nice. It was a thing to take pride in. We get to vote. It's part of who we are in America, and it's gotten to the point where we're fighting tooth and nail just to have a legal, legitimate balloting an election. So yesterday was very interesting. I don't know any of the numbers yet. I shouldn't say it. My wife did a printout for me, and it is county-wide. In this particular election, they're going for the 20th, what was it again? It said on here, U.S. House of Representatives District 20, district-wide polling. So it's for District 20, which is Kevin McCarthy's old seat. And they have to do this particular election to fill his seat till the end of the year, and then they have another election that's going to actually take over and do the next rotation, if you will, of however it works. So, all right, form monitoring, but then others collect outside as type of threatening force. They do. Yeah, you're right, Tammy. It should be a national day of voting. It should be a day where, even if it, you work like half day, right? You work a half a day and then you're off. It's like, Christmas or New Year's. It should be, because it is a countrywide a thing. It should be all in paper, with ID. That was the other thing that I didn't tell them. I mean, they knew who I was because I was working there, but they say, "Can I have your name, please, sir?" And I pulled my wallet out and handed them my driver's license. Okay. And I noticed while I was sitting there through the day, people who came in to vote were doing the same thing. They'd hand them their driver's license. They wouldn't even talk to them. They'd hand them their driver's license. That way they have the address, they have the name. Not so much they don't want to talk to them, but they're proving who they are. Okay? And exactly, yeah, you got poll watchers, and they're trying to shut down on that too, with the handing out of the water and snacks and stuff, because the lines are so long. Because even though they're giving them the mail-out ballots, the people don't. They're like, no, we don't want to do this. You'd think that they would, you think that they get the hint, but they can't, or they don't. I don't know. Oh shoot, I forgot that. Hey David, are you still on here? I don't know if David's still on. Darn it, I was going to ask him if the codes are up and ready. No, it doesn't. Everyone has access to an ID. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, is you are talking to people and saying, some people are saying, well, certain people, they don't know where to find the DMV, or they can't get an ID or anything. And then they go into another part of town where those people are, and they're like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have an ID. And the guy asked one person, he says, well, do you know where the DMV is? And he goes, yeah, you'd be stupid not to know where it is. He goes, it's over like on whatever street, like 20th and Oak. It's just like 3 blocks from here. And so people, that is not a viable thing, saying that people can't get an ID. Everybody can get an ID. Okay. And it's well, Random, when you go in, if you go into the DMV, my son did it. You can go in and you can fill out the paperwork just to get an ID. You don't have to get a driver's license. The states will issue you just an ID because they verify who you are and everything, and they send you an ID with your picture on it, which is a legal ID in your state. If I'm not mistaken, you can also get one of those, what is it, verified IDs, I think. And you can get one of those without it being a driver's license. So, it's because I got mine when it first came out. I wasn't going to do it. I waited about 1.5 years before I ever got mine. And if it took you all day to get to the office, you just wasted a day. Yeah, it is, but it's one of those things where, you need an ID. I mean, if I go to get on an airplane, I have to have an ID. If I'm gonna, buy something, there's some things that need an ID that you have to have. So if you're gonna get an ID for that, then you should have an ID for being able to vote. And they should be the same ID. There shouldn't be an ID specially just for like voting or whatever. Oh, but you can have a different ID that's, easier to get. No. You make it all the same. It's one ID all the way across the board. It doesn't matter if you're buying ammunition, if you're buying a gun, if you're buying a car, if you're going for a loan, if you're writing a check. Okay? Whatever it takes, when they ask for an ID, it should be the same ID all the way across. Right. Now, yeah, homeless people do not have they don't have a stable address. And I don't believe that they'll issue an ID on that. But see, that's something that the state needs to address. Okay? If there are going to be homeless people getting an ID, yeah, because they're going to want to vote. I mean, just because you're homeless doesn't mean you don't get to vote. That's wrong. Okay? So there should be allowances made that you're like, okay, so if you're homeless, if you don't have a place, or maybe you choose. It's not that you're homeless. You choose not to live in a stick structure, right? A house. You decide you want to live in a trailer on your land. Then, and you don't have it. Like my daughter and her husband, they don't have an actual address. They got like 20 or 30 acres. Okay. They don't have a physical address because, they live literally in the country. Okay. And it's a catch-22 is to get an address, you have to have some kind of a structure. But to have the structure, you got to have plans that are okayed by the county. But to have the plans okayed by the county, you got to have an address. It's stupid. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, you should, if you've got a plot number, which you're going to have because you own the property, right? So it's got a plot number. There's your address. If you don't have a physical address on the property, you have a plot number. There's your address. So you go from there. Then you get your plans. Now you get your address issued. End of story. Okay. By some Republicans, trafficking and human trafficking, prisoners. If you can't get an ID, then you shouldn't vote. Well, yes and no, Naomi. I mean, if it's a reason why you can't get one, then they need to address that. If it's a legitimate reason, you maybe you live in a nursing home. Maybe you, I don't know. Maybe you are a person who decides that they want to live off the grid. You live on a piece of land, but you don't have a physical address. Then I would say is that, most likely you probably have a bill or something that maybe for a cell phone or whatever. Then they should accept the bill, even if it says post office box on it. Hey, Dot, if it says post office box on it, I don't care. Okay, they don't need to know where my structure house is. Okay? A post office box is good enough. If you show them that it's a cell phone, okay, great. Well, it's a cell bill. Okay, fine. A tax. If you got property, you're going to have a tax bill, right? There you go. Good enough. It's not property. I mean, it's property, but there's no address. My grandpa had like 6 or 8 acres here in California around Lake Arrowhead, right on the lake. There's no address to that. It was a couple of plots of land. So if he can own it, which means he has the record for it, then that means that it's there. They know it's there. Then that should be suffice to be able to get an ID, you know, or even at least get an address for it. But when this all goes on, they need to somehow make this thing work. You know, and I understand that part of the reason why they want addresses, they want to do that is so that you can't go from one district to the next and walk in and say, oh yeah, I'd like to vote, you know, and you know, well, we don't need to know an address or anything, just go ahead and vote. You know, they're not asking for IDs or anything. No, you need to have an ID. You need to you know, and I know that's why they want to use the electronics, is to try to stop the forgery or the falsification of records that you vote in 2 or 3 districts at the same time. So there are a lot of back and forths with it. There's a lot of ups and downs. But with what I saw happening yesterday, this was all with the electronics. And like I say, when you turned on the ebooks, they came up with a little Apple thing on the screen. So it was a I am guessing it was an iOS based piece of equipment, which is an Apple, but I don't know what the software was it was running, because it didn't look like an Apple software to me. So and I know that Apple does not give out their operating system to just anybody so that they can write programs for their equipment. But anyways, so yeah, there was a lot of things that happened, weird stuff like that. They brought it back up. Now we're back on the computer again, and then one of the computers went down. One of the ebooks went down, and it would give part of the information. So on one of the ebooks, you could look it up by address. On the other ebook, you could look it up by birth date. On neither of them, you could look it up by name, or well, no, you could look it up by name on one of them. So if he couldn't look it up by name, then you have to go to the other one, and you could look it up by the birth date, and then the birth date would bring it up. It was crazy. A lot of people it was coming up saying they had to vote provisional because their polling place was the one I told you about originally. It's 45 minutes away. Great. Just perfect, right? Okay. So, yeah, right? Show me your papers. And the thing is, though, but you have to think about it, though, Random, you want to make sure with everything that's going on our southern border right now, and now with all the Haitians, I don't know if you guys have heard about all that. There's a great big contingency of Haitians that are leaving Haiti that are bearing down on Florida. They're going to all come piling into Florida. And yeah, see, no, up here, Naomi, they ask, okay, what's your name? They don't care about your ID. They don't, it's you know, I hand them my ID. I make them look at it. I force them to look at it. Not because I'm being a meanie about it, but they need to verify who I am. They need to know that I am who I say I am. Okay, to be able to vote. But you have all these people coming across the southern border. You've got, you know, millions of people coming into the country, and it's something you don't want to have happen. You don't want to, I'm not saying they're not welcome, but they need to come legally. You don't just come charging in. You don't want somebody to just come up on your property and pitch a tent and go, well, I'm here. No, you're not. I'm going to ask you nicely to get off of my property, and if you don't get off of my property, I'll call the cops. Okay? And if that doesn't work, I'll keep an eye on you until you leave, and I'll pack up your stuff for you, and I'll put it out on the street. I'll be polite about it. I'll be nice. I won't destroy anything. I'll pack it up real nice, and I'll put it out on the street. You can come pick your stuff up. Okay? You don't go charging into somebody's house. You think about how you'd feel if somebody just came up and just walked right through your front door. You know, went and got in your refrigerator and sat down on your couch and started watching football. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they came from. You know nothing about them. There is a reason that we have borders. There's a reason that we have boundaries. Okay? It is for a sovereign nation. They have a sovereign nation. The United States is a sovereign nation. Everybody knows that Alaska and the lower 48, the continental United States, and Puerto Rico, that's all the United States. People know that. Everything that's up north of us, there's Canada up there, and then you get up into Alaska. Well, that's United States again, right? Unoccupied land. It doesn't matter if it's occupied, random. If I've got 250,000 acres, whatever I choose to do with it, if I just leave it wooded, it's still my land. That doesn't mean that they're going to make me give up my land so that they can take it over to house somebody. Okay? But the thing is, you have to look at who owns it, random. Who owns that property? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about what it's being used for. That's no concern of ours. Okay? Maybe I got 250,000 acres and I want to leave it completely wooded. I use that for my relaxation, my decompression area. I go out and I go hunting on my property. Okay, fine. But, you know, depending upon if BLM owns it, okay. Now, I don't think the teachers union's got enough meat between their ears to own property. And besides that, even if they do own it, they still got it, just like you and I. They got to go through every single hoop to build something on it. They can't say, oh, we own this, so we're going to start building on it. Well, that's fine. But you belong to a county. No matter where that land is, they belong to a county. They belong to a municipality. And that municipality will tell them about their being able to build. Because we have a piece of land here in our town that's owned by the school district. And they were going to sell it to a guy that was going to build condominiums on it. And the water district said, fine, you can build it. You're just not going to get any water. Because there is no water that will support as many people as you're going to put on that piece of land. And they've been going back and forth over that for a while, and the people that bought it finally turned around and sold it. Why? Because they can't build on it the way they want to build on it. Now, if you have cattle or sheep or whatever, you use it for grazing or maybe use it for farming, then yeah, there's you know, there in the water table there is for that. Okay, but there's not enough water there to feed to water how many ever people, you know, showers and drinking and baths and toilets and everything else, you know, for as many condos as they want to put in there. So you can't just go and start looking at land and going, well, that's BLM, so we can build on that. No. It's not a good place to go. To fund the school, yeah. But whoever has it still has to abide by the municipalities of where that is, whatever county that's in. And I know here in Kern that, It takes an act of God in Congress to be able to build something. There's such a change. I'm fighting it. Yeah, the sometimes changes are good, Belinda, but as a community, we all need to be aware of it. We all need to be understanding of what's going on. I've heard about a few class action suits that have been brought because whatever entity owns a chunk of land, a chunk of property, it gets bought by another entity that wants to go out, and there's a place, I don't remember exactly where it is, but they're trying to build like a you know what the small houses are, small homes, right? Well, they're building a community made out of those small homes, small houses, and that is set up for the people that are coming into the country. They say to open a shine sword. There's a 5-year bond, and if he does not make it, he loses 85 acres of farm. Yeah. See, and that's it. It's a gamble. He's trying something. He's trying to make trying to turn it into something that's good. And using that land like that, maybe he can't farm it anymore. Maybe whatever reason, but he's utilizing it to try to make try to go something better. Zoning is another thing. Zoning is a big thing in the counties. But all that to say, all of these things, if you look at it, it's all driven by people. It's people that want to move into a county, people want to move in, and they want to straighten things out, or they want to do whatever, right? But it has to do with people. Well, people have to live somewhere. They have to be a head count. In California right now, they're giving away driver's licenses to the illegals. Remember that accident that happened, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Where the driver was an undocumented alien, an illegal alien, and there was, I believe, 4 people in the car, and the driver was the only one, or no, one of the passengers in the back was the one that survived. And it killed the people in the other car because the driver was drunk. Illegal. Okay, not saying that if they got legalized and everything that they wouldn't have drunk or gotten drunk and the accident wouldn't have happened. I'm not saying that. But you got them coming in and it's a problem where they're just coming in and continuing to live their life where they were, but they're doing it here now. And unfortunately, the law here is completely different. Okay, maybe where they came from, you didn't have to have a license. You just drive a car. Doesn't matter. Don't have to have a license, no insurance, whatever. What's going on right now in our country is it is getting diluted. The people of this country have a pride in who we are, a pride in the country, a pride of making sure that things are done the right way, okay? And, they're just giving them, I know, random, Newsom is just, he's handing them out like candy on Halloween, okay? He's like the old guy that's got the house that's got the big old bucket of candy, and every time you come by, he just give you a whole scoop of candy because he's giving them everything. And, there are places where we can move. But see, the thing is, folks, is that if we walk away from where we're at, which it could be advantageous, but the thing is that it leaves that open for somebody else. And the latest thing that I've heard here in California is that they are going to change the electricity, how they charge for electricity. Up until now, as you guys probably all know, everybody gets charged for the electricity they use. You don't use any electricity, you probably get a bill for pennies. Okay? Maybe you still hang your laundry out on the line. You don't use a dryer. Maybe you got a gas stove. Maybe you use a fireplace to heat your house. You don't use electricity. Maybe you don't like using the lights. You only have like maybe one light on in the house at a time. I remember my grandpa used to go around. He used to put like 40-watt bulbs in his lights. My parents couldn't ever figure out why. I mean, it's just like, it's so dim. Well, yeah, and my dad finally looked at it and he goes, Pops, he says, you're putting in 40-watt bulbs. He says, yeah, it saves electricity. Well, yeah, you can do that, right? Well, now they've got a thing that's going to start here pretty quick where it's based on how much you make. If you make between $20,000 and $48,000, you're going to pay so much for electricity. If you make between $48,000 or $50,000 and like, let's say $75,000, you're going to pay so much more. I think the high end is like from $105,000 to $150,000. You pay $75 a month for your electricity. The thing is that you are taking away people's rights. You're taking away their right to decide how much electricity they are willing to purchase or buy. Okay? The thing I'd like to find out, I want to find out what they're going to do with my house. Because I've got 23 solar panels on my roof. Because of my shop, I overbuilt my system on purpose. So I'm actually overproducing electric. Even with the lights on here in the shop right now and everything, my system is producing so much energy, it's shipping it back out to the network. Okay, last year alone, my bill was a minus $1,400. Imagine that. My system produced so much electricity that I sold it back to the network for $1,400. So, I mean, Jiminy Christmas. What are they going to do? They're going to charge me on how much I make, which I don't. I'm on disability, so I don't make money. Okay? Thanks to the United States military, I'm 100% disabled. So that means that I do not have an income. So how are they going to work that one? See, these are things these people don't think about. What they're thinking about is, how can we steal money from our people instead of letting the people have the money to pay for things so that the money, okay, is utilized in their community to maybe keep Joe the butcher or maybe Steve the baker or Debbie who does hair down at the salon or something. They keep their doors open, keep their companies, their stores, their businesses running, right? They want to take it more toward the state. So, with all that being said, we're going back to the election. It's you folks, you need to watch out when you go in. If you haven't voted yet, if you're going to be going in for your primary here soon, I think all the primaries are done. I'm not positive, but yep, yeah, I got mine at 15 and a half, Naomi. I was only able to drive during daylight hours, and it had to be with a licensed driver in the vehicle. And but it was a regular license. And but what was I, 8, 7, whatever. I was driving tractors for my grandpa. I was driving farm vehicles up on their ranch and farms. He had a at the time it was a $500,000 combine. Okay, the first year that I was around that thing, all I could do was watch what they did. The second year I was up there, I was able to go through and run the checks on the machine. The third year I was up there, I was actually able to drive it out and get it ready to go, get it warmed up for them, so they could just walk out, climb up in it, and start moving. The next year I was actually allowed to go out and work the land with it. So by the time I was, 14, 15, I'm driving a $500,000 vehicle. so big I could drive over cars and I wouldn't know I hit them. But I didn't have a license. Okay, they used to have what they called a farm license. That gave the farmer and his kids or whoever got one, gave them the opportunity they could drive their tractors on the road in between their properties. It was actually called a farm license. Okay, nowadays, it's, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure if I trust the younger kids. No, they don't, Tammy. No, my son's been trying for his. They changed all the he went down and took the test, right? And he's a bright young man, and he went down and took the test and he failed it. And I'm like, how do you, what? Well, my wife had to go get hers done too, so she went with him. And she passed her test by I think it was 2 questions. And she said, no, it's completely different. They have completely rewritten the test, and it's not a how you doing, Swift? Hey, Sherry. Yep. My grandpa had his. I had to leave mine up there. When I would come home, I had to leave my farm license up there with my grandfather. Because in the state of California, if I could find a tractor and down where I lived, I could drive that sucker on the street with my farm license and they couldn't say anything about it. Seriously. So it's kind of weird. And now they're just handing licenses out to people left, right, and backwards. Yeah. Oh yeah, on the street, no, I couldn't drive on the street till I was, was it 15 and a half? Or 16 and a half? No, it's 15 and a half. But that had to be with escort. And when I hit 16, then I could drive by myself, but there were restrictions. And then finally when you got 17, it didn't matter. You could drive day or night or whatever. I could drive back and forth to school and all that. Probably wasn't the smartest thing for them to allow me to do. Because I ended up with a couple of speeding tickets inside of... actually, I ended up with one ticket on the way out to school, and I ended up with another ticket when I dropped my buddy off and I was headed to work. And yeah, I rolled the tires a little bit. I didn't get any smoke, but I rolled the tires over, and I speed shifted a couple of times, and the cop pulled me over, and I got busted for exhibition of speed and speeding and all this stuff. And the judge was just, he wasn't happy with me. So, hey, Dumpster Man. Gronk? I'm not sure. I haven't heard about that one, Dart. But, yeah, it's, folks, getting back to the election, when you guys vote, and I hope that you're voting, understand it is a privilege that you're given. It is a privilege that is handed down to you from our predecessors, from our grandfathers, our great-great-grandfathers, okay, our ancestors. They are the ones who fought, in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, all these different conflicts all around the world that handed down that privilege to vote. It's not a waste of time. See, the problem is people have taken up that concept. Oh, it's a waste of time. My vote doesn't count. It doesn't matter if your vote counts or not. Understand, it does not matter. Our forefathers didn't say, you know what, you can have the privilege to vote, but if your vote's not going to count, then it doesn't matter. No, it matters. Okay? Because we've gotten to where we are because people have said, oh, my vote doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count, I'm not going to do this. Okay? And what it's done is we allowed them to change the rules. Oh, gee, okay, well, we're not going to have everybody walk in and vote. So we're going to have mail-in ballots. And instead of having single day voting with ID, we'll have it a season for voting. We'll open up early voting like 30 and 42 days early. And then we'll let them count votes for 2 to 3 months after the election. No. We need to go back to single day voting. We need to go back. One of the companies I worked for, when it was the day of voting, you got 2 hours off that day to go vote. Didn't matter when you wanted to do it. If you decide you wanted to go at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you tell your boss, at 2 o'clock, I'm going to go vote. He said, okay, be back here by 4. Okay. And I go vote and I come back. Didn't matter. We need to go back to that. We need to go back to IDs. We need to go back to the one-day voting. Folks, if you really, really, really want to be embarrassed about being an American, you take a look at France. Take a look at how many people are in France. Take a look at the terrain in France. Okay? And now understand that just like everywhere else in the world, at 8 o'clock at night, they close their polls. Just like we did last night, folks. I walked out the door last night to go pick up all the cones, okay, at 8 o'clock. We shut the door. I got in my truck to go pick up the cones. As I'm starting my truck up, this car comes racing into the parking lot to try and go vote. It was maybe 2 minutes after. They can't vote. It's done. 8 o'clock, you're done. In France, it's like a community thing. Everybody comes in to count the votes. Everybody comes in to count it all. By 11 o'clock, man, they're cracking open the wine. Everybody's celebrating. It's all done. It's finished. We're finished. Done. All the votes are counted. Everybody's drinking wine and celebrating. Okay, except for maybe those that lost and they're crying in their wine. But it's done. Why can't we do that here? We used to be the greatest nation in the world. We were the shining diamond on the top of the hill. Nowadays, not so much. We're still there. The problem is it's gotten a little bit rusty. It's gotten a little bit dirt on it. Okay? That diamond doesn't gleam anymore. We need to take responsibility. We need to shine that diamond back up the way it used to be. We need to take pride in our country. Yeah, you're right, Swift. America lost God. Somewhere along the line, and I could, if I had the time, I could give you a class on exactly when and where it happened. Because I've studied this. I know when it happened. Okay? Because I remember when I grew up, my dad worked. And he wasn't working like 250 hours a week or anything. He was working a regular 9-to-5 job. He'd work a little bit of overtime every once in a while. My mom was home. In fact, every mom on the street where I lived was home. They weren't working. The dads were out working, and we had a good life. Okay? I wasn't, like living large like Trump or like Elon Musk or anything. Okay, we didn't have our own private jet, didn't have a Maserati in the garage, but we lived good. Okay? What is it that changed that took us from the father in the house working and the mother staying home, or maybe it was the mom that was working, maybe she had her degree. My mom had her teaching degree. So she could have gone and become a teacher. Dad could have stayed home with the kids. I don't know. But that's not the way my dad was raised. My dad was raised that the man works. That was his job, to provide for his family. And what happened between then and now when dad has to work 2 jobs, mom has to work, so the kids are under the control of the school system. Oh, gee, think it was planned that way? Think about it. You're right, John. It did. I learned this. I was watching this thing this morning before our Bible study, and it was really interesting because And I'll tell you this. The way he said it is, there's a donkey, and he's tied to a tree, okay? Well, the devil goes over and he unties the donkey. The donkey, being a donkey, right, starts to wander through the neighbor's field. The neighbor gets upset about it, and he goes out and he shoots the donkey. Now the owner of the donkey goes looking for his donkey. He finds out that he's dead. Now he gets all upset, so he goes and he shoots the other guy that owns the property because he shot the donkey. Now, the owner of the property, his wife, tells her two boys what happened. They're grieving over what happened. So the two boys conspire. They go out and they go shoot the owner of the donkey. Now his two boys go over and shoot the other two boys and the wife. Okay? And this goes on back and forth. And finally, the last one dies. And at the last moment, they go and they meet with the devil and they say, why is it that you made it? Why did you do all this? Why was all of this killing happening? Why did you make this happen? And the devil says, I didn't make nothing happen. He says, I just untied a rope. I untied the rope off the donkey. All the rest of you, because of your unwillingness to look at the situation and work it from a point of understanding, of love, of kindness. Instead of the first guy, instead of shooting the donkey, he could have taken the donkey back over, tied him up to the tree, gone over to the owner of the donkey and said, hey, look, man, he just got loose. He's over there in my cornfield. So, we're going to be a little bit light on the corn, So the owner of the donkey said, oh, I am so sorry about that. You know what? I'm having some extra come in this year. So I tell you what, I will replace whatever it was he destroyed. See, that's the way we should have done it. That's the way they should have done it, but they didn't. The devil says, see, that's how you guys are. You guys do like that. One goes and you have to keep getting back at the other one. That's all on you. All I did was untie the donkey. You guys were the ones that acted like a bunch of jackasses. So, that's the way things happen. You can't blame everything on evil. All it does is it presents a situation. We have to decide what we're going to do in that situation. You have to decide. I have to decide what my actions are going to be. Okay? Yeah, they do, Tammy. They do. I know my neighbors on both sides. I know the neighbors that live behind me. The one that lives across the property from him, they sold their house. They moved. I know 1, 2, 3. I don't quite know the other ones. They're very secluded. They work with the they're the what do they call them? They work for the Bureau of Prisons out here. We got a prison out here, but they work for that. And then I know the guy down on the corner, so I know everybody that lives on my street. I live on a small cul-de-sac. Okay, so, but people don't know their neighbors anymore. When we lived farther apart, when I lived on a farm and you lived on a farm, we were closer than what we are right now, living like on the other side of the wall. Okay, that's behind you guys. You guys see it in the morning when we do the flag salute. From that wall to my neighbor's house is 15, 30, yeah, it's 30 feet. Between 25 and 30 feet. Wall to wall. And yet, I don't know a whole lot about them. Okay? My grandfather knew every farmer around. He knew their dogs. Okay? He knew the brand on their animals in case they get out. They knew my grandfathers. Okay? So people have gotten beyond that. The closer that we get, the farther apart we grow. And it's us. Okay? It is not anything that happens. It is us that happens. And as we do that, we grow farther apart, which means that our communities grow farther apart. When it comes to the election, folks, you have to get out and vote. I don't care what somebody says. I don't care about anything. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't care if you're a Libertarian. If you choose not to vote, if you choose not to exercise your privilege, your right to vote and put your word out there and say that this is who I want to vote for, you basically give up your right to say anything about what happens after that election. Okay? Everybody right now is screaming and yelling, oh, well, Biden this and Biden that and Trump this and Trump that. And I usually let them run off at the mouth for a while. I let them go and go and go, right? And I'll get to a point where I'll finally ask them, okay, who did you vote for? Okay? And what do? Well, I didn't vote. Well, why are you flapping your gum? Why is your gaping noise hole running? Shut your gaping noise hole. Because you don't have a right to run your mouth if you didn't participate in the voting. Okay? That's one of the things that gets me about a lot of people. A lot of you guys probably maybe in sports. You guys do, you have favorite teams and stuff, right? And we had a guy at work that was always, he was for the Broncos, the Denver Broncos. I mean, to the point where he had a big old Denver Bronco, the horse head. He's got a great big one in the back window of his truck. And he's like, yeah, well, my team did this week. My team did that. And I finally had it one day, and I said, really? He says, yeah, man, my team, my quarterback's so good. My quarterback. And I said, cool. Can you show me your ownership? And he goes, what? I said, show me your certificate of ownership. Show me paperwork. Show me something that says that you own that team. He goes, well, I don't own the team. I said, then you need to shut up. It's not your team. It's the guys that you support with your money. Understand, they're playing ball. They're having the time of their life. They're out there doing what they love to do. And then on top of that, they have people that are just throwing money after them. They're charging $150 for a jersey. And he goes, well, so? And I said, why do you want to have somebody else's name on your back? I said, you're working here and you're taking your money and you're buying their shirts or whatever for $150. Why? You might as well just throw that money out the door. Because that shirt's going to mean nothing in a few years. You're going to get 10, 15 years down the road. And you're going to look at yourself going, man, why did I even spend all this money? People, their priorities have changed. Everybody's priorities have changed. Okay? They used to be, I remember watching football with my mom. God rest her soul. She loved the Cowboys. She didn't care who they were playing. I mean, you could show her the numbers. They don't have a chance of winning, Mom. She goes, that's okay. I still believe in my Cowboys. And that was a different thing. That was different, right? They played football because they loved the game. Maybe back then they still had problems like they have now with all the stuff that's going on, but it didn't come out. It wasn't like out in the papers or anything. Was it still wrong? Yeah, it was wrong. I mean, you hear about it. One of those guys farts in the wrong key, and it becomes a uh, major thing in the newspapers. Okay, they go out and they go and they get drunk, and maybe they accidentally, when they're walking out to their car, they trip and they stumble into somebody's car and they put a little dent in the fender, and it becomes a major case. Back then it was, okay, well, yeah, I screwed up, and there was an integrity to them. There was an honor. Yeah, they maybe screwed up, but they took the accountability for what they did. Now they don't even care. They think they're all that and they can do whatever they want. I refuse to, if you excuse the term, worship any of them. I don't care if they play baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer. I don't care what it is. Okay? Not even, I used to love NASCAR. I don't watch NASCAR anymore. And it's because you got a bunch of, the kids nowadays are just, you look at the old timers when they were racing, when they were young, there was a decorum among drivers. They, just like the football players and the basketball players and the baseball players, there was a level of decorum among them. There was a level of honor. Now they go out, they get upset, they get their panties in a wad because somebody bumped them into a turn, and they get all bent out of shape. Well, you know what? If you were running faster, or if you learned to drive a little bit better, you probably wouldn't even been near that other person, so they couldn't have hit you. That's on you. That's not on them. Because last week you did the exact same thing to somebody else. They didn't come over and punch you in the face. Why are you getting all bent out of shape? These people don't think about that anymore. So, but anyways, yeah, the thing with the election, folks, is if you haven't voted, if you still haven't, I don't think we have any primaries left. I think they're all done. But in November, seriously think about the election. Okay? Because your vote, I don't care what somebody tells you. I don't care what you hear on the news. Okay? You need to vote. There are men dead on battlefields. There are families that are missing fathers, that are missing sons. There are wives, there's brides who the last time they saw their husband, she ended up getting pregnant, and now he's coming home under a flag. Okay, understand the freedoms that you enjoy right now. Your freedom to even talk on here. Okay, your freedom to be able to get on the internet. You look at communist countries. Communist countries will shut them down, shut people down in a heartbeat. This channel would already been shut down. Okay, why? Because they don't want the knowledge. They don't want the wisdom. They don't want the understanding getting out there. They don't want the truth out there. So they just shut it off. Okay? You live in the greatest country that ever has been, is, or ever will be. You hear people talk about it. A lot of you younger ones, you hear the older ones talking about how great this country is, what this country has done, the things that we've done. Yeah, so we've done some stupid things. Every teenager has. I don't care who you are. I can guarantee you that every single person that's ever lived has done some stupid things. Okay? I remember I'm not even going to go there. Done some very stupid things. But as a country, we've done some stupid things. Does that mean that we're bad? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that we can't get better? No, it doesn't. It means that we learn from our mistakes. We learn from that which we have done. We get our proverbial caca together, straighten this thing out, and get back on course. Okay? We need to do this. So when this November comes around, vote. Exactly. Yeah. They're gonna. Trooper comes on at 9 minutes ago, just about, and then they crank off in about a half an hour. So I was aiming to get off of here like real soon, like in the next maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I got you, cowgirl. Anyways, folks, we've got to vote. You have to get out and vote. I'm not telling you, as you notice, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you who I vote for. That's none of my business. It's none of your business. Okay? The thing is that you do vote. Because that's the way our society works. Is that you get out and you vote. You go ahead and you mark that ballot. If you don't want this person, then you don't vote for them. You vote for somebody else. I had a guy tell me yesterday. He says, "I'm voting for this one person," and I said, "Oh, okay." And he says, "You know why I'm voting for it? This is an old Navy guy. I mean, he was walking. Let's just say that walking was not on the top 10 excellent things that he does now, but he was probably." I'd be willing to guess probably in his early to mid 90s. But his mind was sharp. And he says, "You know why I'm voting for this guy?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Because," he said, "that other one, Vince Fong," he says, "that guy Trump, he likes him. I don't like Trump, so I'm not going to vote for him. And this other one, I'm not voting for her because of this and that. So that just leaves this one guy." And I thought about it, and he made his choice. He was choosing who it was he wanted to vote for by the process of elimination. If somebody doesn't stand for what you stand for, you don't have to vote for them. Okay? You should vote, though, and do your own due diligence. Yeah, I know it's a pain in the butt to read all this stuff, but do it anyways. I just got my well, Dino, that's it. It's you and I served, okay? Different times. I did my tours during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Okay, I got to go over and play in the sandbox. And but we're still on the same level playing field. And there's no disrespect for any veteran. I don't care. Or active duty even. Thank you, brother, for what you've done. And but we need to vote. You need to make your voice heard. Okay? Don't be one of those that's going to go out and start screaming and yelling from a corner, about how bad this person is. Why are you doing the negative? Why not say, look how good my person is. Look, I support this person. Look how good they are. Look at the good that they have done. Why do we have to make it about the negative? Maybe because there's not enough positive. We need to find somebody new. I don't look at people as to what their personal life is. I don't care if they drink wine, beer, whiskey, or bourbon with dinner. I don't care if they eat steak or if they eat nothing but vegetables. I don't care. I don't care if they wear animal skins or if they go out and get hemp and they sew their own clothes. I don't care. What I care about is where it all starts, is in their heart. I care about, are they going to do the right thing when the pressure comes? When they come under fire, are they going to be able to act, or are they just going to react? Okay? When the time comes, are they going to do what they say they're going to do, or are they just going to wad up into a little tiny ball and cry themselves to sleep? I think we need, like Dino said, we need more real men. Wow, Naomi, I didn't know that. You never told me that, Naomi. Wow. Yeah, those are some tight gentlemen right there. Amen, Dino. Always. So, anyways, folks, I'm going to let you get going. Let's get this thing wrapped up. I appreciate y'all being here. I don't do this every night. It's just every once in a while, but I thought, because working the election yesterday, just to have you guys keep an eye open when you go to vote. Watch the things that are going on. If you have a problem voting, don't go and down to the local watering hole and start complaining with everybody else. You go to your local election board and you tell them. You make sure that they write out an affidavit on it, that they put it down in paper and pen. You write it up. Okay? That's how we get things changed. If everybody goes to their local watering hole, all we end up with is a bunch of drunks. We're not going to get anywhere with that. We need to be the ones that stand up and we stand out. We need to go down and to the election board and saying, hey, I went to vote and this is what happened. You need to tell them. Okay? If you have a problem in your county with the counting of the votes and everything, then you go to your county board of supervisors and you let them politely and kindly, with respect, because I know that they work for us, but you need to do it in respect, okay? And I haven't been real respectful the last couple of times I was down there because, excuse my terminology, but they just flat out pissed me off. So I didn't say anything nasty or anything. I was a bit strong. I raised my voice when I shouldn't have. And Dino understands about a drill instructor's voice. Yeah, my outside voice became my inside voice, if you will. So, and I'm not proud of that, but I did, unfortunately. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, see, that's the old guard right there, Naomi. That's the old one. They came home just like my dad did. They came home and didn't say a word. They went right to work. They did what they were going to do. My dad never even talked about the war. I didn't know until about 6 or 7 years ago why he kept going down to the VA, and then I read something that they had written up for him and found out that he got blowed up in Korea. He had shrapnel all up and down the left side of his body. He had a medical discharge. Never knew that either. So, all right, Tammy, yeah, let me get this closed up, folks. I appreciate y'all being here. If you want to, every morning we're on here at 7 a.m. Pacific time. We're at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I do a Bible study. Keep an eye out for it. It's called God's Signpost. And we dig into God's Word and from a layman's point of view, if you will. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher. I just kind of tell it like it says in the Bible. I read it. I get along with Jesus really well because he preached to the farmers. He preached to the normal. He also preached to the kings and everything, but at the same time, he was preaching, the way I understand, and it's kind of a simple way. So, thank you so much, Dimitri, for being here. Naomi, Tammy, love you guys both. Thank you so much. And appreciate y'all being here. For those that are going to bounce over to the Freedom Corner, I'll see y'all there in just a few minutes. God bless you all. You have a blessed evening. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, that's off. Okay, cool.